All right, for our first question, it's the square root of 20. Some of you will take your calculator and try and type it in. Do you see how it gives your answer as a decimal? That means that this root is not a perfect square. It won't come out as a whole number. So I have to break it down and simplify the radical. Does anybody know? So because it won't break down perfectly, what is 20 divisible by?
2.
Which would be 2 times
10.
10. All right? I'm not going to use my calculator. 2 will not break down, but I have to drop it down. Then I split the 10.
5.
10 is 5 times what, though?
2.
2. What is allowed to leave the radical and what has to stay inside?
The 2.
2 leaves. 5, 6. Good. All right, let's try the square root of 96 and just see if it says it's a decimal as well. So I have to break it down. Let's say 96 is divisible by, pick a number to divide it by. 4? 4 means it'd be 4 times 24. All right, those are a little bit smaller. 4 breaks down.
6 times 4.
Oh, the 24 does. Okay. Two drops. This 2 drops down. 4 splits into 2 times 2. And 6 breaks into 2 times 3. Usually if you get the answer wrong, sometimes you forget to drop down these ones or to split them up.
Dang, there's a lot of 2s.
There are. So I have this pair and I have this pair. Can that 2 leave?
Sure.
No, it can't leave. There's not another 2 to leave with it. Can that 3 leave? No, because there's not another 3 to leave with it. So my final answer would be 2 times 2 is 4. And what is 2 times 3? 6. And you do not have to show that work, but that's how we get the 4 and the root 6. All right, let's check if I square root 40, it is not a perfect square. I need to break it down. 40 would be 4 times what since it ends in 0?
10.
10. Good. All right, 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. 10 is 2 times 5. These 2's can leave, but this 2 and 5 are left inside. If I leave it like this, the computer will mark it wrong. I need to write my final answer as 2 root 10. So we did those last class period. Now they're getting a little more trickier. Now they have a 3 on the root. So if I want to check it, I now have to use this little button with the N on it. I have to put the little 3, and I'm going to place 20. 20 cannot be cube rooted, so I'm going to break it down. 20 is 2 times 10. What does 10 break down to? 2 times 5. Now, do you see how there's this 3 on the root? That means you need 3 of the same number to leave. Do you see 3 of any number?
No.
There's not, so it won't simplify. It's just cube root 20. So it's okay if it won't simplify. That happens. That will happen every once in a while. All right, with 96, we already broke 96 down. Do you care if I use the same numbers from up here? Since we already did it. All right, we broke 96 down to 4 and 24. Then we broke it down to 2 times 2 and 4 times 6. 2 times 2, 2 times 2, 2 times 3. So because I have a cube, I have to pair them up by 3s. These 3 could leave together. Nothing else could leave because there are not 3 that I can group together. Yes. So the 2 would come out. I would have a cube on my root. 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12. $40. I already broke 40 down up here, so I'm going to follow that same pattern. 40 is 4 times 10. 4 is 2 times 2, and 10 is 2 times 5. The 2's, because there are 3 of them, they get to leave. I put a 3 on the root, and the 5 is left alone inside.
Easy though.
Yep, hopefully. With the next one on the bottom, the 4 root with 81. When I break up 81, bless you, you can either type it in or I'm going to see what happens. 81 is a perfect square. It's 9 times 9. Then, if I break my 9's up, I get 3 times 3, 3 times 3. Because the root has a 4 on it, I need a group of 4 in order to leave. There's nothing left in the root, so the root is gone. So who thinks they know what will happen when I type the root with the 4 and 81 inside? What do you think my calculator will say?
Error.
Error? Let's
I
see.
don't know. 3.
3, because it is perfect. It can be broken down into equal parts, so it's a whole number. That's why it is equal to 3, and there's no root left. All right, let's check. What happens if I put a root with a 5 and 160 inside? It's decimal, so I have to break it down by hand. When a number ends in 0, that means that my 16 is being multiplied by 10. Just like with 40, it was 4 times 10. 160 is 16 times 10. 16 is, do you want to use 4 times 4? Is that okay? 10 is 2 times 5. I'm going to break these 4s down to 2 times 2. This 4, 2 times 2. Drop it. Drop it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2s. They get to leave because the root is a 5. They need 5 of a kind. And then left inside that radical is 5. Next section, we are filling in the table and writing an explicit equation to represent the data. As I follow my pattern down, it goes from 1 to 2 and 2 to 4. Does anybody know what that pattern is doing?
Times 2.
Yes. Multiply by 2. This is the pattern. Now, if I write an explicit equation, it would be f of x equals, I could pick any of the numbers given. I'm just going to pick one. I times it by 2, and I would have the power of x minus 0. If I want to fill in, I'm going to work backwards. What's opposite or backwards of multiply by 2?
Divide.
Divide. Notice I did not put divide by 2 in my equation. That is an error that can occur. As we work through, it is multiplying by 2. If we want to fill in, we are just going to, that's to help calculate. So when I do 1 and I cut it, I divide by 2, I get 1/2. Who thinks they know what will happen when I divide 1/2 by 2? Good job. It is 1/4. Anybody want to guess at what the next one would be? If I divide that in half again, 1/8. The bottom is multiplying by 2 when I work backwards. And A would be done. Let's try B. I'm going to find my pattern. It's multiplying by 3. So I would write f of x equals 4 times it by 3 to the power of x minus 0. If I work backwards, my next one, I'm going to divide by 3. So I would have 4 divided by 3. What happens when I divide by 3 again? What's 3 times 3?
9.
So I would have 4 divided by 9. What's 9 times 3? 4 divided by 27. That would fill in my table. Any questions? All right, next one for Evaluating the following expression. This is where you will want to use your calculator. When it has the parentheses f of 1, I'm going to plug 1 into 2 times 1/5 x. So when I plug a 1 in, on my calculator, whatever my answer is for the output, that's what I'll put in my box, in my answer box. So I'm going to type that in. 2 parentheses 1/5. Whoops. And then I want a power of, it said to put a 1 there, which is 0.4. For f of -5, I plug -5 into 2 times 1/5 the power of x, which would look like that when I put a -5 in for it. The nice thing is, because I'm using the same equation every time, all I have to do is replace that 1 with what number? I just get rid of the 1 and replace it with the -5 that they want me to substitute in, which would give me 6,250. We'll just substitute that value in wherever the letter x is. For this function right here, they want me to substitute 2 into the function. So instead of putting an x, I want a 2 in my power. I'm going to delete just the -5 and replace it with the 2, which gives me 0.08. This one wants me to plug 0 into 2 times 1/5 x. So I'm going to replace the x with a 0. When I do that, a 0 power will make it into a 1. 1 times 2 is 2. I'll give you a second to fill those in if I went too fast. Once you're done, turn the page. We're just going to finish substituting in. For question A, I'm going to be plugging in 1/2 into, see how there's a g? I'm going to plug it into x squared minus 4. I'm going to plug in 1/2 into x squared minus 4, which means here's my x. I'm replacing it with a half. It needs to be squared. It needs to have a minus, and it needs to have a 4. When I enter this on my calculator, I would have 1/2 squared minus 4. I can write the decimal, or I could write a fraction. It does not matter which one you pick. So when I substitute the 1/2 in, it ends up equaling negative 3.75. It's kind of hard to see. For B, I'm going to plug 3 into the f function, which is 2x minus 5. I'm going to get rid of the x and replace it with a 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 5 is 1. I'm going to plug 2 into h, which is 2 with an x on it, minus 3. Notice that x is up. X is up in the power. It's up in little. So when I rewrite that 2 in here, it'll become a 2 with a squared minus 3. Two squared is 4. Minus 3 will make 1. On your assignment, you will get some like this. You have to be careful. Do you see how the f of x, the whole piece f of x is a 7? So this function what is going to happen is because it is 7, I'm going to replace it with 7. And my goal is actually to find x rather than plug x in. Does anybody remember how to find x, to get x by itself? The first is we have to add or subtract something. Do you see a number that is being added or subtracted? 5 is being added or subtracted. I undo it by adding 5. I'm going to bring it over here. 7 plus 5, so I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 equals just a 2x. And the 5 would cancel out and be gone since I moved it to the other side. Once I add or subtract, I then multiply or divide. Divide it by the 2, which means that x is 6. If you don't like the way that looks, you can always write it that way if you prefer. It's the same thing. So for E, I want to make a correction because on your homework you won't have one that difficult. I want you to fix this and say that f of x equals 5. So we're going to try it again. Because f of x is 5, I use f of x is 2x minus 5. Because these match, I'm going to just plug the 5 in right here. So it'd be 5 equals 2x minus 5. I would try and undo and get x alone. So add 5. That would give you 10 on the left. Then we would divide by 2. So for this one, x does not equal 6 on this one. This time x would equal what? 5. So it's a little bit weird, but not too bad, hopefully. You will have a problem exactly like this on your homework. All they want you to do is plug the value in. So because there's a 0 here, and it's in G, I take G, and instead of having an X, I replace it with the number 0. Anybody remember what the 0 power does? Anything to 0 power is a 1, correct. For this one, it wants f raised to the power of 0. So I'm going to replace the x with the 0. Anything raised to the 0 power is 1 again. Or you can calculate it, it'll say 1. I have g, which means I'm using the 1/2 to the power of x. I need to replace that x with a -2, so I'm just going to replace it with a -2 in there. (1/2) the power of -2 is 4. This g wants me to raise it to the power of -1, so I'm just going to delete and make that -2 a -1. For f, I have 3 to the power of x. I'm going to replace the x with a -4. If it gives you a long decimal, you may type in that whole decimal. I'm going to do the fraction because that's less writing. It's 1/81. Now I have 3 to the power of x again, but I'm replacing it with a -1. So I'm going to get rid of that 4 and make it a -1, which is 1/3. These are the ones that get a little tricky. The function for f is 3 to the power of x, and the function for g is 1/2 to the power of x. What is between those two functions? There is a plus sign. So when I entered in, this one wants me to put a 2 in here. And I have a plus sign. And what does the g want me to plug into it? A -2. I can type that in. 3 squared plus 1/2 to the power of a -2 on that one. And it is equal to 13. H, if you notice, it says it has f, which would be 3 to the power of x, then a minus sign, g function. Instead of having the x's, I'm going to replace the first one with a 2. And then I'm going to replace the second one with a -2. You'll notice they look exactly the same. The only difference is I need to change the plus sign to a minus.